And it just got started with that. You had two very controversial decisions that were given to Brazilians. You had Eric Anders, who I believe 70% of the media gave it to Eric Anders. 52% of fans gave it to Anders, with 45 going to Machida. 2.7 had it as a draw. Then you had Tim Means. 83% of fans and 95% of media gave that to Tim Means over Sergio Moraes. And you always see it. Don't leave it in the hands of the judges. You all can miss me with that load of horse shit.
That's beyond horse shit.
As a professional prize fighter, where you make half of your money by winning a fight, you should feel very comfortable leaving your victory in the hands of the judges if you earned it. Tim Means earned it. I thought Eric Anders earned it. Now, was the Eric Anders fight so egregious that I thought, like, robbery? No, but the fact that it was in Brazil, I feel like if that fight would have taken place in LA, or if it would have happened in Manchester, or if it would have happened in Tokyo, I don't think Lyoto Machida's getting that scorecard. I don't think he's getting that win. And it used to be like almost a charming little funny thing that this would happen. It used to be like, oh, no. It's not like that. Eric Anders wasn't in the UFC like 6-7 months ago. This could have been huge for him. He did what he could, and it was a close fight. But look at Tim Means. My God, Sergio Moraes is like had one loss I think one loss in his last 9 UFC fights. He doesn't need the judges' help. This was gross. And Tim Means got on Twitter today and said, these judges owe me 50 grand. Tony Weeks, where you at?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and we can make all the excuses in the world of the judges' positioning if the vast majority of the fight in one round happened on the other side or off to the side and they weren't able to see the action. Man, you can see the action. If you know mixed martial arts like you're supposed to know mixed martial arts as a judge, if you don't know what is happening in a mixed martial arts fight and you are sitting cage side judging a UFC bout, man, there's a lot of people that need to address that. We need like a hearing or some sort of commission to come out and say, what is wrong with you people? Because it is patently obvious what went down in some of these fights. And it's very simple. It's a fight. It's a fight. Who is doing what to end the fight in the round? Who is doing what in that round? Who did more than the other person to end that fight? Sometimes, you've heard me say it before, it looks like glorified sparring. I get that. But in each exchange, who's winning the exchanges? One guy can throw a 3 or 4 punch combination with a low kick. The other guy can throw one punch. Man, he won that exchange.
Yes.
That thing lands flat on the jaw. He won that exchange. Okay? And it goes on and on and on. People will argue till they're blue in the face that a submission attempt doesn't count. What are you talking about? A submission attempt is trying to end the fight. It puts one fighter on the defense. Oh, some guys are better at submission defense than others. Irrelevant. That fighter is on the defense now. He's doing nothing to end the fight. He is losing the fight at that moment because the other opponent has a submission on him. Yeah. It's not rocket science, but you get all these ass clowns in the media, and fans are fans. I get that, but some of these ass clowns in the media that have been around for a long time continue to post up these subjective. It's all subjective. Shut up. It's not subjective. A triangle choke attempt to finish a fight or a rear naked or an armbar or a dominant position is a dominant position. Stop. So when it goes to the judges' scorecards, enough is enough. You should know what is happening as a judge in a fight to determine, okay, this guy won the fight. Or this guy's winning the fight. This guy won the round. Like, enough's enough, but it's just been going on. It's 2018, man. February 2018. We're still talking about stuff that should have went on, that should have been taken care of years and years and years ago. I've had Big John McCarthy at the command course in our faces, constantly just puzzled by some people, puzzled by some judges, puzzled by some commissions who allow specific judges to continue to go in there and referees. Okay, like at some point, I was thinking about it today because I knew we were going to talk about it, Sean.
Of course.
At some point, does the promoter... I'm not back in the UFC. I'm saying promoters in general. Should they not have some sort of say to say, you know what? Listen, that judge there is an ass clown. That referee, I don't want him anywhere near our fighters because of this, and this until he can prove otherwise. We want to have a selection of the referee and judges to say we're only allowed.
Nevada's letting Adelaide Bird go. I mean, like letting her continue this farce.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying the UFC is allowed to pick the 3 refs and the 8 or the 6 or 7 judges. I'm not saying that. But here's the pool. We don't want this guy or that girl in there. We want, of these 6 or 7, these are the ones that we want. Because they've proved, they're certified, you can verify it. Even managers and fighters, I'd be concerned. I mean, knowing what I know about mixed martial arts, Sean, and I had this conversation with many a fighter from Frank Trigg down, George St. Pierre, blah, blah. I was like, why don't you guys, your managers or whatever, go in and say, who's reffing my fight? Put that in your contract. Who's reffing and who's judging my fights? Because I want to see their certification. I want to know that they're certified under Big John or Herb Dean or whatever courses that the Association of Boxing Commissions have that are strict and rigid enough to say, I passed this. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm seeing. I know what to look for. Because it's stupid, man. What happened in Brazil is stupid.
It just started there. It was just getting warmed up. And this next one's multi-layered. I titled the post-fight tweet, Valentina Shevchenko commits legal assault with Mario Yamasaki as an accomplice at UFC Balaam. What we watched unfold there was gross. It was sick. And what I think is even more sick is the weirdo apologists that have come forth and said, like, oh, warriors. They're warriors. Ah. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. With 217 strikes, Valentina Shevchenko landed to 1. To 1, so the camera can see. And when Dana White had his figures, his early figures, 230 to 3, that was generous. Those extra 2 were generous. Somebody I saw on Twitter was like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And I said, oh, did you stop watching the fight after the first round, assuming that it got stopped after that? Because it didn't. It didn't at all. She moved into crucifix and threw elbows, and even short-range elbows are really gross. By the way, Priscilla Cachoeira tore her ACL during this fight. Mario Yamasaki caught a lot of flack from Dana White. David Shaw afterwards said, we'll be working with the commission, quote, we'll be working with the commission to make sure a situation like that doesn't happen again. First and foremost, Priscilla's health is #1 priority. We've got a team with her at the hospital and we'll be taking very good care of her to make sure she recovers quickly, end quote. Yamasaki, in a statement to MMA Fighting, said, quote, during the second round, I signaled to her that if she didn't move, I would stop the fight. And every time I'd stop, I told her and she moved and tried to escape from the punches. Unfortunately, I also can't control the number of blows thrown. Again, when a fighter is trying to come back, she's game. Fighters go through times of hard effort and dedication to be there. MMA is a contact sport, and no fighter like this or likes his fight to be stopped with no chance to revert the result. In my opinion, I allowed Priscilla to be a warrior and keep fighting. I could have stopped in the second crucifix or in the mount, but she moved the whole time. I also recognize I should have stopped when she tapped the first time to the rear naked choke. I only stopped a few seconds later. About other people's opinions, it's their right to say. End quote. The Brazilian commission has came along and said that they discussed the stoppage with Yamasaki held at the venue, or the stoppage in question, and they made clear all of their concerns regarding the incident. Priscilla demonstrated toughness and heart during the 2 rounds, but those are 2 attitudes that should not interfere or confuse the referee when it comes to stoppage. In the first round, in the last couple of minutes, it was clear that she could not defend herself efficiently nor technically. That reflected directly on the judges' scores, all 3 giving a 10-8. Round 2 was the same, but obviously Priscilla was not physically recovered enough. That would have been a 10-7. A clear 10-7, they said. As to the matchmaking, the fight was approved by the CAB MMA. If it was not well matched, blah, blah, blah. They understand the errors. Good for them for stepping up and saying this. The matchmaking was miserable for this fight, Joe. That's the first thing we'll attack. I don't know if it was Shelby or Mick Maynard. Bad matchmaking. You know, we often say maybe these guys need some showcase fights, and I'm okay with that. Robbie Fox of Barstool Sports did a preview of this fight, Joe. And he posted it afterwards, and he was like, he showed where he looked at some of her footage, and he was like, this woman would have a tough time hanging in Rough and Rowdy. Like, very tough time. Then earlier on the show, you had Maya Stevenson. All due respect to her, I respect her husband, all that stuff. She had never defeated a woman with a win on her record. And boy, that was reflected in her fight as well. This was embarrassing, and I thought that Mario Yamasaki's response was also embarrassing. You can't control the number of punches landed? That's your fucking job! I'd love to hear
I'm fighting within me right now, Sean, and everybody tuned in right now. By the way, your thoughts on the live chat would be fantastic, guys and girls. I really want to play devil's advocate on behalf of Mario Yamasaki, but I can't because he's an experienced referee. It is not your job to allow someone to be a warrior. It is your job to ensure the safety of each and every fighter that you are overseeing. You want to take a look at a solid refereeing job? You take a look at now is not Herzog, but I'm drawing a blank. Who did the Desmond Green Prazeres fight? Guy who keeps telling Conor McGregor to beat it.
Oh yeah. Goddard.
Mark Goddard took control of that fight. That's how you take control of a fight. Yeah. That is a legit awesome referee. Now, has he made mistakes in the past? Of course he has. We all have. Everyone's made mistakes. But Yamasaki allowing somebody to be a warrior. Okay, now I will play devil's advocate with that because you want to allow somebody to be a warrior in a fight. It's a championship fight. A championship fight where this contender, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Give them that little extra leeway to try and come back, to try and survive. I get that. A champion about to lose their title, give them that little bit of that, you can be a bit of a warrior to try and survive this. I understand that, but not at the risk of their personal health and long-term health. If it's that bad, sorry, you got to stop it. It's done. Come back and fight another day. I'm sorry, but it was just too much.
I see the difference in amateur and pro. At every fighters meeting that I've been at a pro-am fight, the commission or the referees will talk, and they'll say, listen, we're going to let it go a little bit longer in a pro fight than we would an amateur fight because you all have to wake up and go to work on Monday. So I understand that as well. But then you get that leap, as you mentioned, from there to a title fight. I'm cool with that too. I am with you, but this wasn't that.